All right, folks, welcome back to the Live at a Dollar Podcast Network. We're going to do some hobby talk right now here in Radio's Yard. By the way, thank you for subscribing and liking all your comments, everything here at Live at a Dollar. Really appreciate that as we do some more hobby talk today. You've seen the legendary David Adams. I've got Adam here from that, by the way. And let me tell you, I want to say is one of the funniest texts ever when we set this whole thing up, because I'm going to read the text here. Zach, this is Adam, the Adam in David Adams. I think it's still one of the funniest ways to introduce me to you for the first time ever in all this. Adam, first off, thank you for coming here to Radio's Yard, and I appreciate your time as always.
Of course. What's up, Zach? Doing good?
We're good. I'm excited to talk a little hobby with you. I'll start with this, a very easy layup for you to start off. How did the entire kind of transition from being a child into the hobby start for you? Because obviously we know where you are now, but how did it all start for you?
Well, I collected hockey cards when I was little back in the 70s. And I always tell the story. My brother, younger brother, had a card that I didn't have. He had a Lynn Swann card. Not that we were Steelers fans. He just had a card that I didn't have. And being the older brother, I really wanted it. He wouldn't trade the world for me to get this card. That was Lynn Swann's rookie card, technically. I didn't know it was a rookie at the time. And I always really coveted that card. And then we flash forward years later, kind of left collecting behind me as I went into middle school and high school and discovered girls. But I was walking down the street one day in Buffalo, and I walked by a little card store. And I went in there, and sure enough, this Lynn Swann rookie card with a big crease in it is pinned to like a board for $3. And I bought it, and I showed it to my brother, and he could have cared less. He didn't remember. I ended up getting a job in that little card store. This is 1986, and kind of went from there.
Wow. Yeah, that's listen, I think all of us have kind of that story with the other brother or the cousin that got us all into it, or that best friend that got us all into the hobby in general. So how did that, so you got the job in the card store at that point. Obviously you had a love for the hobby at that point if you're going to work in the card store. So from that point on from you, how'd you get from that into school, past that, and to now where you are now with David Adams?
Well, I finished up University of Buffalo while working part-time in the store. And I always say I could sort, I could put hand-collated sets together like nobody's business. I was so fast. And I'd work in the store and listen to all the old-timers talk about the vintage cards, and I would have price cards. And I really, honestly, I love the guy who owned the store. He's not with us anymore, but I love the guy, but he wasn't the best businessman. And I just thought, well, I could probably do this. So I worked for cards. He didn't have any money to pay me, so I worked for cards. And I would do 2 to 3 card shows on my own by, say, 87, 88, or 2 or 3 a week that I would do. And somewhere about 1990, I was trying to decide, do I want to further my education or what do I want to do? But ultimately, it was going to require money, no matter what I had to do, because my parents didn't come from money. Right. And so I decided, well, I'm just going to open up a store for like a year to sell my collection. But I couldn't afford to do that, so I had to go out and find a business partner. And so I asked a few people, and the only one who said yes was this guy, Dave, that I kind of knew from the card shows in Rochester. We were like the 2 youngest guys set up at the show. And Dave said, okay. And so the rest is kind of history. So that was May of 91 that we opened. And I've just kept going.
That's amazing. That's really funny too that you said that, because I was just talking. I just got back from the National, a couple weeks back. It was my first time ever at the National. I've never been to anything like that before. I did sports radio for 2+ decades. I covered Super Bowls. I covered World Series, NBA Finals, big tennis matches, you name it, F1 races. I covered it all. The National to me was one of the craziest scenes I've ever seen in my life. And I was talking to some of the older guys there, and I was like, God, I remember as a kid going down here to the mall card shows and thinking that was the biggest deal at the time. Like, oh my God, the Coral Square Mall this weekend has got a card show Saturday and Sunday. I would see everyone I knew there. That was one of the biggest things. Going back to what you said about being in Rochester, going to some card shows, maybe even trying to open up your own shop to sell some of the cards, from that point to where we are now with Fanatics Fest, to the National, to the card shows every weekend in Dallas and Nashville, out in San Diego. It is tremendous what's happened to this hobby over the last couple decades. And with that said, part 2, how much more can this grow in your eyes? Because I think the ceiling is not even close. We're not even there yet.
Well, what I've been telling people is that, for those of us who grew up in this business behind the counter, and we're pretty good at what we did. There were a lot of really, really good card dealers, distributors, et cetera. For a long time, And it wasn't until about 2019 that we started making real money. And then in 2020, COVID kind of pushed it forward. So I've talked about that quite a bit. And so when that happens, you kind of take the glass half empty look and you kind of think, when's the sky going to fall? And it's just kept going and going and going. And then you go to the National, and I don't know if you saw what I saw, but if you went to pretty much any hotel lobby or common area after the show was over, and you saw hundreds and hundreds of young kids, 15, 16, 20, wheeling and dealing till all hours of the morning, you realize it's not going anywhere soon. There's a whole next generation there following in my footsteps and the footsteps of others who came before me. And it is, it's something to see. So when you say, well, where can this go? I don't know. I'm just glad that it keeps going.
Right.
I'm super happy.
Right. It's weird. And it's so weird too, because I think you just stressed on something that I even talked about with Nick afterwards, after the National, or like after day 2. And I said, let me tell you something. I'm asking all the people in the hobby the same question I just asked you. I asked to a lot of different people, like, where do you see this for, forget about a year from now, but 5 or 10 years from now? And everyone said the same thing. Well, I'm not sure. Look where we came since 2018, 2019, and where we could go from here. But the one thing I noticed was the kids are the best wheelers and dealers. Forget about the dudes walking around with, $1 million case and these huge cards. The kids walking around from booth to booth, wheeling and dealing and selling cards and being as sharp as they are. We're building salespeople at 9 years old now. These kids are going to be salespeople full time at 11, 12 years old. It's amazing what's happening. So I think you're right with the next generation, and even the generation a little bit past that, getting into the business part of this and not just the collecting part. Adam, I think the ceiling is we're closer to the floor than the ceiling at this point, I think, in the hobby.
Cards weren't cool. Cards are cool now. And you can see that too. And granted, everybody has their different reasons, but I mean, I'm from Buffalo. I'm not a Patriots fan, but boy, Tom Brady coming into this industry has been a very positive impact for cards. And it's not just him. Lots of other celebrities and entertainers are coming into the space more and more. And then billionaires. I don't know any billionaires until 5 years ago. Now I think I know 7. Because even people with money who you would think would just be buying art are buying art. And so that's new also. So between celebrities and the ultra wealthy coming into the space, and then a big company like Fanatics coming in, I mean, it's very different. And there's a lot of people, a lot of powerful people with interests in this hobby to keep it going forward and growing. And I'm just happy to be along for the ride.
Yep, me too. 100%. Leaving radio to come to this for me was probably the best move I made in the last 25 years of my career, just because of where this hobby could go and what could be the kind of the big upheaval in the next couple of years here for the hobby. Let me ask you a fun question first. I'm going to give you a VIP ticket, a VIP trip to any major sporting event you want to go to. The Masters, F1, World Series Game 7, NBA Finals Game 7, whatever you want, you name it, World Cup, whatever it is, you're allowed to pick one. Which one is it going to be? And part 2 of that, what's number 2 on that list, just so I can make fun of you a little bit?
Okay, is it real time, or can I go back into the past?
You could go whatever you want. We have the Back to the Future DeLorean here, whatever you want to go to.
All right, well, I'll make it real simple. World Cup final. World Cup was on my bucket list, so I know I'm going to Seattle and Vancouver. I've already kind of mapped out the trip of where I'm going to go next summer. So I already kind of have that. So I think World Cup is maybe my last big sporting event to cross off my bucket list. I haven't been to an F1 race. I'm going to go to the one in the Netherlands next week, and then I'm going to go to Vegas also. So I'll cross F1 off. But that hasn't been like I'm a passionate soccer fan and collector and everything. So, but I've never been to a World Cup. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's clearly number 1.
Okay.
And can I just say Buffalo Bills Super Bowl victory?
I'm going to be honest. I'm shocked it wasn't 1. I'm shocked, but I get it.
That would be 1, Zach. But if you in Buffalo, we're so, we have this phrase, "One before I die." We're so beaten and downtrodden over our lack of championships that I wouldn't dare put that number 1. Let me just even though it's hypothetical, let me just slot that in at number 2, because I can't even conceive of it. I always tell my friends, hey, wherever you are in the world, if you saw that the Bills win the Super Bowl, know that I'm probably dead, and pour a little out for me, because I didn't survive much beyond that game.
Right. Yeah. I can only imagine at that point. Listen, I'm a long-suffering Dolphins fan, so I get it. If it wasn't dealing with Tom Brady for 20 years, now I got to deal with Josh Allen and the Bills for a couple. So I can't. I mean, the last time we won a playoff game, I'm the oldest guy in this building, in the backyard by far, older than CEOs, older than everybody here. I'm 46 years old. The last time the Dolphins won a playoff game, I was older than still half the guys in this building. I was 21 years old. It was a long time ago. So I get it. I understand the whole thing, but yeah, I definitely thought your answer, no matter what, would be Buffalo. Whether it was one or two, it had to be the Bills winning a Super Bowl at this point. I figured it had to come. That's kind of the reason why I asked the question after you said Rochester, because I knew that where it was going to go at that point. All right. One thing I noticed at the National, watching all the stuff at Fanatics Fest, and we talked about this a little bit before, it's kind of coincide with that. I feel like every year now it has to be a little bit bigger. The National has to be a little bit bigger next year. When I got there this year, everyone would say how much bigger this is, the size-wise, than it was the year before. I didn't even know till day 3, by the way, there was an upstairs at the National. I had no idea. I had a hard enough time covering all the ground on the bottom floor, nevertheless go up to the top floor on that. Everyone that went to Fanatics Fest says this was great. Can't wait to see how big next year's is. Are we in like a little bit of a kind of boxing match now between these big events, because they have to be the major events this year, every year? They have to get bigger and better. How did we get to this point? I remember the card shows in the mall, like I told you. Now where we are, I got a feeling that they have to outdo each other this year, every year. Fanatics Fest, not more of a card thing, but I know the National is. How do you kind of see these two events in the next couple of years? Do you see someone else trying to kind of compete with them at that point?
There's probably room for a third, but I think we'll be with two
Right.
in the foreseeable future. And the way I describe it is the National is the most epic card show you will ever attend.
Right.
I didn't make it upstairs. I had friends set up upstairs. I didn't get
Right.
to see them. I tried to shop for myself. It's impossible to do in one day, let alone, finding times between meetings to try to get out there and shop for my PC. But it's the biggest and best card show you will ever attend. And if you're a collector, you should go, especially Chicago. Big room, big space. Great. Fanatics Fest is the greatest experience ever associated with this industry in my lifetime. They're not the same thing.
Right.
They're very different. They're both very positive for the hobby. There are some amazing dealers set up at Fanatics Fest. You have great cards. You also, for the most part, are at the National. But I would say I was set up, my booth was between Topps and F1. The idea that I'd be set up next to F1, it just blows my mind. So all the leagues are there, all doing activations. Michael Rubin and his team, there's tons of athletes there and celebrities just walking around, buying cards, being part of everything. Everything that goes on there is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my lifetime in this business. And it's also not to be missed, but for different reasons. But you can really see the efforts that both Fanatics and the promoters of the National are doing behind the scenes to grow the industry that we all love. And so I'm thrilled with both shows. I won't miss either one.
No, I missed Fanatics Fest this year. I told the guys I'm not missing it again next year. It's not going to happen. After seeing what the National was like and the craziness of it for 5 days, it was bananas. I loved every second of it. I loved working every second of it. And I can't wait to go back next year in Chicago as well either. Adam, I will say this. I want to thank you for your time today, because I like talking to people that are around the hobby. I'm kind of back new in the hobby. 13-year-old me somehow is inside smiling and laughing, thinking, I can't believe you're back in the business after all these years and you're actually in the business getting paid to do this kind of stuff again. That's amazing. But I love speaking to guys that have been around for so long, that have grown up in this business and seen where it's all come to, and kind of learn from them a little bit. So I do appreciate your time today very much so. And I'd love to do it again soon if we have some time.
Anytime.
That's the best. That's the best and worst thing you can tell me, because now I'm going to bug you all the time. All right. The legendary Adam from David Adams is joining us here. We appreciate his time. Like, subscribe, the whole deal to the podcast here at the Live at a Dollar Podcast Network. We thank Adam again for his time in this great interview that we had today. We will bother him again soon. You're listening to Radio Jard here at the Live at a Dollar Podcast Network. Like I said before, make sure you like, subscribe, send all the comments there, whether you love me or hate me. I love seeing the comments there as well. That was Adam from Dave and Adams, and this has been Radio Jard on the Live at a Dollar Podcast Network.